That was the Chris Berman nickname you got yesterday.
There we go. It's my favorite.
844-204-RICH number now. Let's take some calls. Chris in Athens, Georgia. You're here on this Friday before Super Bowl week edition of the Rich Eisen Show. What's up, Chris?
Well, I was just thinking if the Buccaneers pull it off a week from Sunday, they'll become the first wild card team to win 3 road games. And earlier this week, the Oakland Raiders celebrated the 40th anniversary of becoming the first wild card team to win a Super Bowl. But what I thought was interesting about that is Jimmy was just talking about backup quarterback. Week 5, Plunkett comes in because Dan Pastorini broke his leg. And then in the wild card round, the Raiders face the Ken Stabler, Jack Tatum, Dave Casper, Houston Oilers. And one more factoid.
Yes, sir.
And then I'll go. Dave Casper was traded mid-season for a first and 2 seconds. And one of those seconds was used in 81 to draft Howie Long. So just some crazy trivia, and I just thought that was wild.
Chris,
so anyway, I just want to call and mention that.
Very good. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I don't know if Chris was accurate about wild card teams winning 3 straight road games to win a Super Bowl. Didn't the Giants do that?
The Giants did it. The Packers did it too.
I think didn't the Steelers do it one year too?
The Giants did it in 2010.
I mean, the Giants did it.
Yeah.
It's no question the Giants did it.
Yeah.
The Giants ended Favre.
They ended Favre.
Making their way to ending your perfect season.
Yeah. That was the Tom Coughlin frozen solid on the sideline game.
And
Favre pick 6 in overtime.
I just will never forget. That is truly, for me, in my 18 years of hosting NFL Network, if I had to start choosing like top 5 moments or whatever, I'm not planning on going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. But I'm just bringing up how being in the old Giant Stadium for that week 17 game where the Giants had nothing to play for anymore and the Patriots had nothing to play for except the 16-0 season. And the NFL Network had the game, and we were in the middle of all these cable wars, and senators from New England were writing letters to the NFL saying that the NFL better make this game available. And it's just like, hey, we're trying to make this available. Yeah. It's called, the marketplace. Like, talk to the cable operators that refuse to carry NFL Network. That's the reason why. And then suddenly that game was like the State of the Union. Everywhere. Like, it was everywhere. Like, suddenly, instead of that being the most if the Patriots had one loss, that would have been an NFL Network exclusive, and we'll see what happened. But the Patriots had 0 losses, and it was everywhere. It was like the State of the Union. You could choose whatever network you wanted to see that thing on. It was available.
I watched that game in Washington, D.C. I was in town to visit friends. We went to the Wizards game and then watched the second half of Giants-Patriots in a sports bar.
And the Giants had no reason to play their starters, 0.0 reasons to play their starters, except for the fact that Coughlin's like, we're going to compete today. And not a single soul in that building with just anybody, what Arians told us this week. If anybody had told us that night that this was going to be the Super Bowl matchup 3 weeks hence after that game, or 4 weeks, whatever the heck it was, go ahead.
What are you smoking, bro? Give me something.
Yep.
That it might top the Jerry Jones ones. I'm just saying.
What, that drop?
Yeah.
We
might have a new power rankings.
Honestly, I'll never forget that. I will never, ever, ever forget that night, because we were it was wild. It was, and obviously they didn't stop New England.
When it was Brady setting the touchdown record, Moss setting the receiving record on the same play. It was amazing.
But it wasn't they did eventually take care of the Giants. What was the final score that night?
I feel like it was 35-31 or something.
It was close, wasn't it?
Yeah,
close?
It was close.
Because the only other thing I can equate it to was, that, I guess, Team USA taking on the Soviets in Madison Square Garden 3 days before heading off to the Olympics.
It was 38-35.
Okay, so it was close.
Yeah.
Nobody knew that was going to be Team USA versus the Soviets, a semifinal round, medal round matchup.
And the Giants were actually winning 28-16.
Dude.
And the Pats scored back-to-back. Maroney punched one in, And then Brady hit Moss for that 65-yarder to give the Pats the lead. They didn't look back.
We're also hearing a ton of, or seeing, I don't know if it's showing up on your timeline, I'm sure, Romo, when the Bucs and the Chiefs played in Week 12, and the Chiefs put up 17 in the first quarter thanks to Tyreek Hill coming up with 200 yards receiving in the first quarter of that game.
Dude.
And then it got really close because the Bucs came back and started putting points on the board and holding Mahomes down after the first quarter. And after that game, Romo, if you heard, that was on my timeline, did it not show up in yours? Him saying, Jim, I got a sneaky suspicion, better than 50-50 chance that these two teams will be back here on this turf for the Super Bowl. And I don't think anybody really thought that. No. But he said he started seeing some signs of the offense performing well, and we had Arians on this week, and he said that was the game. The second half where they kind of started clicking.
7-5, and you're like, huh.
That was the last Bucs loss. Because they come off the bye week, and they started crushing people. Man, oh man. And if the Chiefs hadn't let their foot off the gas pedal, by resting all their starters in Week 17, they'd have come into this with just one loss. Malcolm Jenkins, his thoughts on the Super Bowl coming up next. And just speaking of Malcolm being in New Orleans, one of my first great memories of being at NFL Network was we did do the Monday Night Football pregame show as if the game was on NFL Network. It wasn't. I mean, it was the only time we were ever put on the road to do a road show for a game that A, we didn't have, or B, it wasn't a Super Bowl. The only time in the history of the NFL Network that we were on the road, out of studio, doing a pregame show for somebody else's regular season game was the reopening of the Superdome. Because it was a huge priority for Paul Tagliabue and the league, clearly, to have the Saints back in the Superdome after Hurricane Katrina. And we were there. And Marshall was there too, Mr. New Orleans. And being in the building, watching Michael Vick get the ball first, and watching him prior to the punt that we all know that led to the punt return for a touchdown that signified that the Saints were back. Vic fumbled the ball out of bounds first. The ball was loose first, okay? And the whole place went absolutely insane. And, of course, the punt block that led to the touchdown that Steve Gleason is now memorialized for with a statue out in front of the stadium. And the rebirth of the Saints occurred. And being there that night was just unbelievable. It was truly unbelievable. And I'll never forget, Marshall's like, let's go out. And I say to Mariucci, we're going out, join us. And he's like, nah, I think I'm going to go back to the hotel. He goes, well, I'll get you the next time. I'm like, yeah, Steve, the next time that a force of an act of nature really wipes this town off the planet and they have a triumphant return and you are here with the native son, one of the most famous New Orleanians of all time, and Marshall Faulk taking you around the town, that's when you'll get us back? Yeah. I'm like, get your ass out of the hotel room. What are you thinking?
Mooch is that guy, though, who just needs you to say, okay, come on. He's like, all right.
And then at 3 a.m, he's got the lampshade on his head. But he actually did go back. He actually did go back to his hotel room that night.
Oh, really?
He did.
Didn't work.
It didn't work.
Wow.
844-204-RICH is the number to dial. We'll take your phone calls. 2 more hours to go. Next guest, Malcolm Jenkins of the Saints, formerly of the Eagles, when we come back.